You know what I just realized? It's been about 5 minutes on this channel since we last talked about Superman. We gotta fix that. As I've talked about a lot in the past, Superman has had a huge, expansive, pop culture defining history as a superhero. And even though his popularity at this point in history is at such an all-time low that we actually have to trust Zack Snyder to try and give him added credibility, he is still, to my mind, the ultimate superhero. Yet in the annals of Superman lore, there is one sticking point, especially in the cinematic history, that still bugs fans to this very day. The ending of the first Superman movie where, spoiler alert, Superman flies around the Earth backwards to spin time in reverse so that he can save Lois Lane from dying in a car earthquake, rockfall accident thing. I'm not even going to bother talking about the logistics of how this time travel works as opposed to other time travel movies or scenes. Point is, I think there is a greater element to this ending of the film that people haven't quite realized yet. Superman the movie, in the end, is about taking a character who up until then was considered to be a childhood fantasy story, like Peter Pan, and turning it into an adult drama. Which is basically, again, what the Bronze Age of comics was all about, taking the Silver Age silliness and then attempting to take it seriously. Not change it, not turn it into something it wasn't, but take it seriously. Throughout Superman the movie, we see time, and how time is a universal constant that lays waste to everything and everyone. At the beginning of the movie, the most obvious example, Krypton. We see it as essentially Mount Olympus. These are the Greek gods standing on high looking down at the universe. They are the most advanced, hyper-evolved species in the entire universe, and yet they are powerless against the ravages of time. They die awfully, screaming in fire. The only one to survive is, of course, the baby Kal-El that Jor-El sends to Earth. But even on Earth, he is not able to outlast time. His own father dies right in front of him from a heart attack. And Clark says the famous line right there, all those things that I can do, all those powers, and I couldn't even save him. He becomes the Superman. He's looked up to by everyone on Earth. Superman is able to stop one missile, but the other missile detonates. Superman doesn't have enough time. And you might say, well, if he has the speed capable to go back in time, why doesn't he have the speed capable to stop both missiles? Well, for one thing, Superman did, during this period in the comic books, have the ability to time travel whenever he wanted. There were strict rules about when he could and could not do it. In other words, he couldn't do it without hurting everything. But he did have the ability to time travel. He was so fast at this point that he could go past the light barrier, the sound barrier, and even past something called the time barrier, in which you go so fast, you literally just start going backwards. Yes, it's silly, it's goofy, it's comic books, what do you want from me? The point is, there's already a precedent that Superman can go back in time. The way that he's going around the Earth so fast that it spins the Earth back in time, I think is just a neat visual aid for the audience, but really I think under the subject matter is that Superman is literally just going fast enough that he goes back in time. In order to go that speed, like I said, he has to break the light barrier, the sound barrier, all the barriers. If he was on Earth going that speed, he would destroy the Earth. So, in other words, when we see him straining to catch up with the missiles, he's not straining against his own limitations. He's straining against the limitations of the world around him. Because that's what the real conflict in a Superman story should be. It's not about Superman struggling to defeat a villain. It's Superman struggling to defeat himself. Superman has got the villains on lock. That's why no one remembers any Superman villains other than Lex Luthor and General Zod. Superman can do whatever he wants. He's Superman. That's the point. There are some things that Superman can't do without not being Superman anymore. That's the real struggle of Superman's existence, to not take that extra step. And in the end of this movie, ironically, much like the end of Man of Steel, he breaks the rules. Jor-El tells him, it is forbidden for you to interfere with human history. He's not messing around. He's saying that quite literally. Superman is so powerful that reality is like a tapestry to him, and he can crumble it up, throw it in the garbage, and remake it as he wills. But he's not allowed to. And in the end, he does. He does exactly what he's not allowed to do. He goes back in time and he saves this woman that he loves because he doesn't want to live without her. He's selfish. The ending of Superman the movie is Superman being selfish. And what happens to Superman 2? His powers are taken away from him because Lois Lane matters more to him than anything else. That is the story that the Superman movies are telling. Like Zack Snyder keeps claiming that Man of Steel is a story about, it's about a god trying to be a man. True, he's raised on Earth and he considers himself to be human, but that's part of the problem, isn't it? He's an imperfect god. He's human. Really, if viewed through that lens, the Superman movies are far more tragic and far scarier than anything that the modern DC universe could ever conjure up. I'm Harvey Media, and I'll see you all later.
Krypton, which revolved about the brilliant sun of its own solar system, while satellites, like ringed moons, in turn, revolved about it. Krypton was a rugged planet, laced with jagged mountain chains, rich in strange minerals.
Just how fast do you fly, by the way?
Oh, I don't know, really. No, never actually, bothered to time myself.
No?
Say, why don't we find out?
And how do you propose we do that?
Boy, that escalated quickly.